Welcome back. Technologists say two factors are driving a software shift that underpins cloud migration for federal agencies. And those technologists say the multi-cloud environments agencies have adopted have complicated that shift a bit. Tricia Fitzmaurice is Vice President of Sales for Rancher Government Solutions. Tricia, welcome. It's great to talk to you. Those two factors are containerization and Kubernetes. And you told me before we went on the air, they're kind of the same thing. Tell me what the differences, similarities are, and what that all means relative to what an agency wants to do in the cloud.
Sure, absolutely. Agencies for the past almost decade have been looking at a migration to cloud. It started all with agencies relying on their data centers and looking at a way to gain more elasticity, and clouds offer them that capability. Containers have been the catalyst for how agencies were able to move to the cloud and actually take workloads and deploy them into a containerized environment and be able to take those and make them portable across from the data center out to a cloud. And then now really where they're becoming more sophisticated, really determining what applications are better suited for what clouds. And containerization makes that portability possible. Kubernetes is the orchestration platform that manages that. We see there have been many Kubernetes platforms that are out there today now. And so where we see agencies looking with the adoption now of not just a cloud, but multiple clouds, looking at how they are able to then manage those containerized workloads in various Kubernetes platforms across those multi-clouds. And that's really where we're seeing agencies start to move.
When they come to you and on this journey that you just described, what are some of the common questions that they ask you? What are some of the common problems that those agencies have?
Most of them have the problems that they have, it's not one size fits all. They've had multiple programs that have been ordered to multiple contractors, and those contractors may have come in with a different Kubernetes orchestration platform. So they're really looking for, how do I take on the need to manage and be able to gain compliance and control and be able to increase my security posture without having to increase any of our technical debt. So what they're looking for is the ability to incorporate something that can give them that security and that capability of management of those various clouds, but also not increase their overall cost of having to rip and replace.
I mentioned that some technologists on the government side are saying the multi-cloud environment's complicating this a little bit for me. Is it the environment itself, or is it the things that they're doing in these multi-cloud environments, the applications that they're running that are bouncing from cloud to cloud, or is it kind of all of the above?
I don't think that clouds, that having a multi-cloud is necessarily very difficult, aside from the fact that you then are managing those various different clouds separately. So you really want to be able to raise that up a level and create a management platform across all of them to where you can provision containers, you can increase your security posture by creating compliance, you can enforce things that are coming out based on Executive Order 14028 about secure supply chain and creating SBOMs. So that's really, I think, the complexity of having a multi-cloud environment is simply that you may have to manage those multi-clouds separately.
What about mistakes? Have you gone into situations where agencies have maybe tried some things that haven't worked and that they wind up having to clean up afterwards?
Well, yeah.
Yes is an acceptable answer.
Yes. But, mainly nothing, and I tell my teams that nothing is catastrophic. And I think that in being a partner to the U.S. government and being able to come in and say, okay, let's take a look at what you have, and let's take a look at what we can provide to be able to augment, enhance, without them having to go and say, hey, we created this big mistake and now we have to start at ground zero. I don't think anything requires anybody to come back to ground zero.
We have about a minute left. You wrote recently about the demand for edge computing and how that's changing this. What does that look like both in a defense environment and in a civilian environment?
Yeah, this to me is a really exciting space because we've been reliant in government on data centers and leveraging data and workloads in a cloud, but now we're looking at the advancement of technology and being able to deploy workloads based on being able to provide lightweight Kubernetes platforms out there at the edge on small form factor equipment. And so now we're able to take that and be able to take workloads and process data directly where mission is happening. And that's hugely important in the global turbulent situations that we may have, where you want the ability to give an end user the ability to make a decision immediately without having to wait on data latency, especially if they're going out and deploying in areas of no comm and low comms. And that's really across the board. That's not just military. That's U.S. Citizens as well in the U.S. government today, and where they deploy, whether it's an airport or they're at the border. There's a need for processing data immediately, quickly, and being able to perform mission as fast as possible.
Tricia, it's great insight. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You can read more about all those topics on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, a new TMF investment at the Labor Department. FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment.